So our next presentation is a pedagogical reading project by Students for Students by Victoria Rodrigo and 2 of her students. And I'm going to introduce Dr. Rodrigo, and I'm going to let her introduce the students. So Victoria Rodrigo teaches at the graduate and undergraduate level. She's an active researcher and designer of pedagogical materials. She is working on a reading project called Serie Leamos. Did I say that right? Which is a free digital library of engaging stories written and illustrated by Georgia State students. She is the founder and editor of the collection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very much for the introduction. And good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to our presentation. We are very, very excited to share with you what we have done. Let me introduce my students as co-presenters. We have a Sara, Parra, Cadavid. She's an undergraduate student in the Department of World Languages and Cultures. Sara, would you like to say something? No? Okay, she's in the master program. And Chase Barber, she's undergraduate student. Her major is music industry, and Spanish is her minor, and she took my class and wrote that book. And both are collaborators of this project because they have something in the library. So this is the library we are gonna show and talk about. That is a free digital library of engaging stories written and illustrated by Georgia State students. And the purpose of this library is to provide comprehensible and interesting reading material that allows language learners to practice pleasure reading from the beginning. And currently, the library is in Spanish. There are some in English too, and we are trying to replicate the stories in other languages so the other languages can have the same opportunity. Every semester, we add new titles, and right now we have 82 books. And this is what we are going to do today. First, we are going to show you in real time the library, all the components. Then we are going to talk, or the students are going to talk about the value of this library from their perspective. And they have been readers and authors, so they are going to give their point of view. And then I will talk about the value of this library from a pedagogical perspective, why it's important, and question and answers, right? So let's start reviewing what the library is like. And for that, we have here, you can go to serieleamos.com if you want to, in the meantime, play around. So we have, here are all the books. There are now 5 pages, and the books can be filtered by levels. We have 4 levels. By readership, books are good for young adult, for children, or for anybody. And also subjects, what kind of subjects we could discuss and see in those books. We are working on genre in the sense that the books could be also divided by the kind of, if they are fiction, non-fiction, or a mix of both, fictionalized experiences. Here we can look for the titles, and this is also new. We have institutions in the sense that until now, only Georgia State were the collaborators of this library, but other institutions are using the library, the stories, and they are writing their own stories. They want to be part of this. So some books have been written by students from other places and our students in our illustrated. These are the universities that are using the library and that are collaborating with us, and these are the library was made with the support of the Center for Excellence in Teaching, Learning, and Online Education and my department. So let's start looking for one book. Let's show what they have. So in Find a Book, if we write a title, for instance, Bella, this is one of my favorite books. It's one of the first books and it's very cute, you will see. So Bella y sus manchas, you open, you select the book, you click on the book, and then it opens, I have it here, a description of the book in English and in Spanish, so students can see if this book is something that they want to read. If they want, they can go ahead and do it. In this case, we have 4 different levels from the same book. Not all the books have different levels, but what we have done is with the story that the student writes and the illustration that the students have done, we adapt the levels so different levels can use the same book. So after that, every book has one audition, narration, and these are the components of the book. Okay, the book can be read, and every book has the introduction, the inner page where it states who has read it, writing, illustrated, a letter for the reader where it explains the project and why it's done and with who, a list of vocabulary, characters, and then the story, right? If we go to the next read and listen, this is the same book, but it has a narration. And the narration is lovely because it's done by almost professional storyteller that she was one student in the program. And this is the narration. I'm sorry, it is in Spanish, but I want you to feel the well done thing. So I have to trust it here. Suppose that, come on. Technology, let's see.
Una mañana de primavera nace una becerra. Ella es sana, hermosa y fuerte. Su nombre es Bella.
So and all the book is narrated, right? You see now I cannot. This is in the middle of here. Okay, you see, fine. Then the students can download the PDF so they can take it home and read as many times as they want. It doesn't have to be just on the screen. Then we have activities, a vocabulary page where, no, this is not, I have it already read. Okay, activities. This is a productive activities where the students use the language of the story, the vocabulary, and they produce. There is a glossary with all the verbs, adjectives, substantive, and adverbs of the story if they want to use it. There is also a comprehension activity, and there is a list of vocabulary in case they want to have it while they are reading. So let me see what is the page to see the thing. And these are the activities, as I said. Also, we have here, I wanted that the illustrator and the writer be present in the story of the book and the story of this library. So they have their picture, and if you click to the one of them, you see something about them, whatever they want to say. It's a way to showcase showcase their work. And in this case, Helena Lim wrote these 3 books. And this is the story in English. Let me just play very little. Come on, yes. So you can have a look. It's very simple, but very powerful. You can read it by yourself. Or you can read it later, but this is an idea of what it is, right? As I said, simple stories with a powerful message. And what this library is a different library. Why? Because we have the 3 main components of a library. Is the reader, writer, and illustrator. All of them are they are members of the same learning community. And that's why it's a library by language learners, for language learners. And these 3 have a very important role in the library. The writers are the ones who say what themes and topics they want to write about. I don't tell them what to write. They write something that they want to share with the community, with the peers, with the friends, with everybody. So we have 3 kind of main books: fiction, we have non-fiction. This is one of the books of Chase. She's going to talk about it. Mixed fiction, that is a real experience with a twist, with something that context is different or characters. And Mi Primera Vez en el Mar is the story that Sara has written. So these stories, the important thing of the library is not that just provides books, but provides a voice of students, what they want to communicate, what is important for them. So it's a personal perspective, and the readers like that very, very much. So even though they look like children's stories, they have meaningful messages, meaningful messages. And the stories are short, 200, 400 words. And this is on purpose because we want them not to feel overwhelmed. And we want them to be able to read it fast. And we know they don't have time for a lot of things. So this book can be read fast, and they are interesting. And finally, the story that are powerful are expressed with a simple language and a straight storyline. So this is regarding the writers. Illustrators are also very important because it's not only beautiful what we have there. The aesthetic is not only what is important, but they provide a context, a graphic context with the stories, with a fresh and unique touch of creativity, and the reader can read visually the story. They just see the images and they know what it's about. So the illustrations are a part of another aid for comprehension. And finally, we have the readers. The readers are very important because they will become writers. So this project have a reading component with the library, extensive reading, that we will talk about that later. And then is a creative writing project with the writers. So in this case, the library is written in this level, 2203. My Spanish Intermediate 3 is the beginning of the 3rd semester of Spanish. So authors or writers, before they write, and this is important, they has to be readers first. So here, this project, this library, has been implemented in the Spanish language program since spring 2019. So every semester, students in each semester, they have to read 10 books, and they can select what they want. And when they come here, they arrive to this level, they become writers. And the the feedback I have from readers is that they feel related to the stories. They feel connected with the writers, and they feel this sense of community and ownership. Is my book from my peer, and that interests them and motivates them to read. So with that, I think I have presented a general view of what is the library. At the end, we will have more time for questions, but now I'm gonna give the floor to Sara and Chase, that they are gonna talk about their perspective. So, Sara.
Thank you, Dr. Rodrigo. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Rodrigo said, my name is Sara Parra Cadavid. I'm from Colombia. I'm a grad student of the Word and Language and Culture Department. And also I'm a Spanish teacher. So Serie Leamos has been an amazing library and resource for my students too. I want to start to talk about the writing experience in general, not only as a writer in the Serie Leamos, because this writing experience can be an amazing experience, but also an painful or a health experience for you, for your management, your feelings. So as a writer, I realized that the experience can be professional or hobby, or like in my case, is a liberation practice. Because when I feel so like full about my feelings, when I feel something like it's too hard for me, the way I found to make like easy is writing about. So whatever the case may be, you need to make a lot of effort to create and start it, because it's not easy putting your views, wishes, and experience on paper. That is really hard. When you start writing, like, okay, you write for yourself and okay, it's my feeling. But then when you need make reviews because you want to share your story and tell the other people what you feel, like that is the hard part, because you need like give context, especially explain what you're feeling, and it is not easy. However, incredible, this is the easiest part, because once you get it, you want other people to read you, and it's here where things get complicated. But that's the reason, because we have Serie Leamos. Because when I write, I really want the other people to read my stories, because I think it's very important, like the topics I want to share. So next slide, please, Dr. Rodrigo. So in this case, I found that there's amazing opportunity with the Dr. Rodrigo and the project Serie Leamos, which is opportunity for all our student communities. And I think so we need enjoy and reading a lot in this library, since you can share your story, your language and culture, and your perspective of the world. I also think that when you share your stories, you are lifting your voice and other voices through your story. You increase your first and second language skill, which is fantastic. And I have many experiences about this, because as a teacher, of course, we use Serie Leamos books, but I noticed that the students feel like this sensation that they were right too. So in many cases, the students are the writers first in their second language that in their native language, which is curious, but it's great. And last but not least, with Serie Leamos library, we have access to read hundreds of amazing and unique experience. So we can have a lot of books in everywhere, in social media, in many famous libraries, but the stories we found in Serie Leamos are unique. Like because it's a thing that's happened every day to all of us. So it's very, very good to the student and you as a reader feel that, oh my God, that can be me. Like, this is my story. This is my cat. This is the happening in my house with my family. So that is very, very nice. And the next part is like your experience as a writer, which is
Sorry.
no, yeah, you can like yeah, like it's as experience. Like I personally love the opportunity to share my story with you right now and with the rest of the UC community and the rest of people to read, because I want to say I have a lot of friends and family to right now is reading me because they have access about the link, and in other ways probably I can share with them because they are in Colombia or in other countries. So it's Serie Leamos give me that's way to make it easy for my family and friends. The reason because why I write this story is which is a fictional experience is because I was visiting my home country, Colombia, as I say, and there I was in the last town to connect Colombia and Panama, which is really means the connection between South America and Central America. The countries are connected through the Darien jungle. In Spanish, it's called Tapón de Darien. A dangerous road thousands of people take to escape from their countries and looking for an opportunity to enter in North America. I was busy there because I was researching about the humanitarian crisis that took place last year. And after a few minutes being there, I began to speak with the people because I love to ask to everybody, what are you doing here? What is your experience? So they start to talk with me about their lives, their dreams, and their experience in the road. A lot of these people not only coming to South America, it's people from Dominican Republic, Cuba, many people from Africa is coming to Brazil and start to walk around South and Central America with the dreams to get it in North America. So I start to listen that experience, but when I finished my day, I could not stop crying in my hotel room. All my friends like call me like, hey, come hang out. And I say, I need my time, I need my space. I'm very, wow. This moment was so hard for me. So I took a pencil and a paper and I start to wrote this story, but because I need to get out all the feelings that I had inside of me. Mi primera vez en el mar, or the first time in the sea, it's a story about family, love, about pain, about feelings, about immigration, legal or illegal. And I want to invite you to read the short version of the story, which is ready in the Serie Leamos website. And we also going to have a long version available always in the next week. As Dr. Rodrigo said, we have different levels. So first version, short version is for a student to start to reading in Spanish, but long version get last illustration, more letters, more details, but also help you to practice your Spanish. And also the amazing and meaningful message that happen. Thanks to Serie Leamos project and library, today someone other than myself can know the reality of millions of immigrants around the world. And that is very powerful for me. Like when I listen to the story, I run to count that stories I listen in my trip to my family, to my friends, and they say like, oh, I really love read your story because I know it's the easy ways to other people like get the message because it's important. We don't have idea how these people have the hard time to pass to come to North America and maybe looking for a better life. Um, this is a These and other stories give you the opportunity to learn or improve your Spanish and also to get inspiration to write your own story. As I say, when you look like someone write the story that happened all the time, like you want to get it too. So you feel like, okay, I want to get my story. I want everybody to read my story. So This is an invitation. This is also, I'm so proud to be part of Serie Leamos. I'm so proud of the work of the Dr. Rodrigo and my department, because the Spanish library is a resource that all the USU community needed and can work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. I want to add something. When Sara she told me if she could write a story for Serie Leamos and could be published in the web. I said, yeah, sure, send it to me. Let's see what you did. When I read the story, at the end I have here, I wanted to cry because it was so sad, but it was so well written and it was so powerful that I said, oh yes, we're going to publish it. So thank you, Sara. Chase, would you like to go on now?
And thank you, Sarah. That was really beautiful, and I related a lot to what you were saying when I was writing my own story. Could I share my screen?
Miriam. Okay, yes, perfect. Yes.
So for me, I wrote My Purple Island, or in Spanish it was Mi Isla Morada. And this is my story as I'm a Black autistic non-binary woman. And I think this project gave me the opportunity to tell my story. I've been in a lot of different classes, and I feel like the Spanish class really knows how to showcase diversity for the students by giving us we get the power to tell our story, what we want to write about, and getting to work with the illustrator was also really quite amazing. I know my illustrator, her name was Rose de Gefa, and I think it was another opportunity to connect with people in different departments to learn and exchange our own expertise. I got to learn about different color theories, and I even got to teach Rose a little some Spanish phrases, and I found that really fun. And also just got to learn more Spanish that would be related to my everyday life, different phrases that apply to my disabilities. And I'll go to the vocabulary page. A lot of different phrases that just apply to me that I can use in my everyday life. And I think also back to the diversity outreach. Not only was it a different language, I know that there's an Afro-Latina community as well. So I would like to think that that not only is it outreaching for other women in my position who are BIPOC and neurodivergent, but also who know different languages, who may speak Spanish and English. So personally, throughout my life, there wasn't a lot of. I used to be a really, really big reader, and I kind of stopped reading around high school due to different part of my mental disabilities. And I feel like this was nice. And since it was at a level where it wasn't, it was more simple vocabulary where I didn't feel overwhelmed having to tackle this project. And also kind of reminded me why I loved reading so much, especially with the illustrations. I feel like there's a concept that if it's illustrated, that it is meant to be for kids only. But I think that this showcases that it can be for anybody, and that you can communicate with more than just language. It can be shown throughout the colors and the images and that connection. So for me, throughout my story, I got to tell my story, and I kind of used a metaphor of my purple island is seen as my safe place, and I got to tell some examples of what I would define as my purple island in terms of my quirks, such as being meticulous, being a picky eater, textures, what I like to feel. How I express myself differently. Socialization. So back to the communication part is, I felt this really gave me an opportunity to communicate in a way that I hope that neurotypical people would be able to understand. And even so, this book isn't just for neurotypical people to understand me, but for other neurodivergent women and neurodivergent Black women to be able to relate to my own experiences. And then also young Black girls as well. I wasn't formally diagnosed until I was 19. I'm 21 now. And I think it answered a lot of questions for me of what I experienced throughout my life. And so I got to, this was one of the first times I really got to deeply connect since I've been diagnosed. To now I have a deeper understanding of myself. Not only for other people, but I too now got to understand different parts and think about, well, what is autism for me? How do I express myself and my neurodivergency? And then at the end, I got to, kind of bring it back to how I actually looked at the time. I had, I've had purple hair and it's my favorite color. And I feel like this color represents how I feel the most. And I also got to illustrate my dog as well. My dog is actually my emotional support animal. And I know Professor Rodrigo has met him. And just that was really cool that I got to add that in the book, as he's a really important part of my life and helps me with my everyday life and navigating my neurodivergency. And so that was my story. And I can show you the Spanish version as well. And I just really love, I feel like Spanish is, in my opinion, a bit of a more beautiful language than English. And getting to read it in the class and express it to my peers, I really enjoyed it. Getting to speak in Spanish, it added just a more sense of beauty, kind of just adding along to that communication. And so here we have the Spanish version. Oh, can y'all see I think I was sharing the.
No, we don't. We are seeing the end. This version.
Okay. Let me see how I can share the. Let me share.
Yes, now.
So this is the Spanish version.
Mm-hmm.
And also just, again, going back to getting to know these terms that apply. And I know that actually some of these terms are not as well known in the Spanish community, I believe, as well, with, I know like pauta social was social cue, and words about like the neurodivergency and things like that. So I think that was also a fun learning experience to find out some more, kind of more medical based terms as well. I felt it was rather educational for me. And yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chase. Great. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to finish what I had in mind, but I'm gonna do it very fast because I want to have time to question and answers. So now I can open this. Let me see if I can do now the.
We have 15 minutes between the presentations, so if you go over a little bit, that's
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
But okay. So I'm gonna do it very fast because in case somebody have questions. Now we have seen what it is the library, what the students, authors think about the library, the benefits, the good about that in the personal view. But what about?
Excuse me, Dr.
Yes.
Rodrigo, we can see your screen.
Oh, you don't see it? Oh,
No.
I thought I was. Wait. Because I don't have the link here. I cannot share anything.
You don't have a share link?
No, I mean, I don't have.
I'm seeing, it says viewing application. Okay, there it is.
Here?
Got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
now.
sorry, so many windows, so many. Okay, now since, let me just go to this presentation because I don't have here. So here we are. Why, what is the benefits from the pedagogical point of view? Well, this library fill a gap that is provide reading material that allows implementing pleasure reading at lower levels. There is nothing right now that I am aware of in the outside. So the reason extensive and pleasure reading was part of my research, because this book comes from my research. I put it in practice what research say that is the best practice, is because reading has a lot of benefits in these three areas. In the sense that at linguistic level, we know that if students read a lot, understand what they are reading, and enjoy the reading, they are going to increase their language competence. So that means linguistic level. Affective level, we know that if a student read the book and enjoy the book, is going to have a positive attitude toward reading. This positive attitude is going to lead to motivation to read, and motivation to read is going to lead to reading habit. That is what we want. We want them to create a reading habit so they can improve their language outside classroom context, instructional context, just by reading and enjoying. And also research say that we should practice reading starting at beginning levels. By reading is not only intensive reading, that is what we do in the kind of reading we have in our textbooks, but pleasure and extensive reading, that means is what we do when we read a novel in our first language, because we want to enjoy, because we are focused on content, enjoyment, because we want to know what is going on in the story. Sorry, it's not for practicing and learning vocabulary, although that happens incidentally. However, pleasure reading is not a common practice at beginning level, and the reason is because to practice reading in a pleasure mode, the material is crucial. The material has to be interesting for the readers and at the right level. That means we're talking about cost to have books. For a whole program, 1,000 students that we have at Georgia State is a lot of money. If we have to have a physical library where every student have to choose what they are interested and what is at their level of competence. And easy access is also another important part of the equation. So I saw that access to a library with a variety of topics, levels, was crucial if I wanted to implement this extensive and reading project and program in the department. And the reason is, as I said, a student should be able to select according to their interest and competence level. So we know that when a student have access to a lot of books, freedom to choose material, they are going to enjoy and have a sense of accomplishment because they understand. So they are going to have a positive reading attitude. This is going to lead to motivation to read, reading habit, independent reading, and language development at the end. So this is the solution. I said, well, That was the problem. We don't have material. Let's create my own free reading resources con this free access library material that is Serie Leamos. And I have been working on that since 2015. And I'm going to leave it here in case there is question. I hope there are some questions. And thank you for listening.
Hi,
Thank
I'm
you.
Rachel. I'm the monitor. I would say I haven't gotten any questions in the chat, but there have been lots and lots of comments, some of them from me. I thought the illustration of Bea was so cute, and I was also tearing up like Marianne when Sarah was talking, and I loved Chase's purple book. Lots of people love Chase's dog, and I know I personally want to use this because I'm trying to learn Spanish. So.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes. Thank you.
From Marianne in the chat. She says, this is such a great example of the power of an open pedagogy project can have. The different voices, students expressing themselves and learning about each other and the skills they can learn beyond the subject matter of the course. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And we do have one question here. It says, are there series for other languages?
Well, we are planning to do it. Not right now. We have a sample of Bella sus manchas in English, French, Italian, and Portuguese, I think.
That's great.
But this is the long purpose of the project, but right now it's in Spanish and English.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I used to teach in a middle grade school in New York that was a high needs school district with a high poverty rate and a lot of English language learning students. And I definitely experienced a huge gap between students of where they were at in their language. And I feel like if they had books like this to read in Spanish and start from there, then having them read in English would have gone more smoothly. So my question is, would the content in these books, what kinds of, other than university level, could it be used in the public school system as well?
Of course, and they are being used. If you go to the library, you can filter the library by not only topic, but by readership. So there are a lot of books that are appropriate for children. So they are used, middle school and high school are using the books. Cobb County are using it, and not only that, they want to replicate, they want me to help them to build their own Serie Leamos or their own library. It would not be Serie Leamos, but their own library with the stories that their students are going to write. So they want to take the project and translate it to middle school. But yes, your question have an answer. Yes, these books can be read by lower level, lower age students.
Can I add something? Can I add something? I was a preschool teacher, so I use a lot of Serie Leamos in my preschool students. We read like Betes Manchas, of course, because have a power messages about the difference, about how much difference we can do, because of course here we know we have this mixed cultural mix, and so we talk about this with the kids, and they're like, they love the story, and it's a way to start to talk about these important topics, like okay, everybody's different, everybody have their style, their race, their etc. So that's work. And also we call the El Gatito Solo, which is a story about the cat. So everybody starts talk about their pets in their home, how they care, how they love. So I think so. Of course, and most of the books have a good topics to talk in the schools. And for example, my story, which is a little bit sad in the end because it's about the reality, but in the middle school and high school, the students already have talked about the migration, about the immigrant nation that we live. So this is amazing.
Yes.
I think so that all books work for schools.
Yeah, one of the good things about this library, the special different library, is that it has so many topics, so many ways of express different things that are important for the community. So yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you.
I personally really loved all of the illustrations in the examples that you showed. I thought they were really beautiful, and I liked that they kind of exhibited diversity of different styles of illustrations too. In Chase's book, I love the way that it's like most of it is in purple, but there's still so many like values and so much like depth to the drawings. I thought they were really good.
Yeah, the illustrators are great. I mean, this project without the illustrations wouldn't be this project. Yeah.